I was already 3 hours deep into work by the time most of the office even walked in. The big seasonal shipment, 200,000 units, split across our top 12 distributors, was finally mapped, timed, locked, a perfect grid of coordination. My laptop had the finalized logistics plan up. I was sipping burnt coffee, trying not to think about how little sleep I'd gotten. 10 minutes into the morning meeting, the door opened again. Caleb Strickland strolled in, grinning like he'd just saved the damn company. He was 23, fresh out of college, probably still getting junk mail from his frat. He sat down at the table like he owned it. Well, his dad technically did. Everett Strickland, CEO, was posted up at the back of the room, quiet, arms crossed. Caleb opened his laptop and said, "I made a few optimizations to the shipping plan." Optimizations? I clicked the shared file he'd just uploaded. It took me 5 seconds to spot the disaster. He'd changed the truck routing, rerouted through 2 bottleneck hubs during peak congestion. Worse, he'd doubled the unit count in the Midwest shipment, twice. The total shipping cost had jumped from $2.1 million to $21 million. I stared at the spreadsheet like maybe I was wrong. I wasn't. Before we go further, quick note. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Caleb, I said, careful but clear, you multiplied the unit count twice on Route 7. That inflated our cost projection by nearly $19 million. The room went still. All the distribution reps stared at the screen. One of them, Jessica from Denver, leaned in. That can't be right. It's right, I said. I highlighted the formula cells. This figure is showing each unit shipping twice, across overlapping regions. It's not optimized. It's duplicated. Caleb flushed. He actually scratched the back of his neck, like maybe he could rub the embarrassment off. He opened his mouth, probably to spin it, but I kept going. I've reverted the file. Please use version 12, the one we finalized yesterday. He didn't say anything, didn't look at me either. He just clicked something on his screen and stared down like a scolded kid. But Everett? He didn't say a word, just kept watching. After the meeting, I was packing up when one of the senior partners, Linda, asked to speak with me. I figured she'd want to thank me for catching the error. Instead, she said, "Next time, maybe think about your tone. You embarrassed a family member in front of key people." I blinked. We almost sent out $21 million in costs. I'm just saying, be aware. That was the moment it hit me. It didn't matter that I'd saved the company millions. I hadn't just corrected a mistake. I'd corrected Caleb. In public. While his daddy watched. And that's when I knew. I wasn't getting out of this clean. By the time I got back to my desk, my phone was lighting up like a Christmas tree. Text after text. "Thank you for catching that." "Jesus, Elise, that could have sunk us. You saved our quarter." One even called me a damn miracle worker. Half of them were from clients. People who actually had something to lose if that shipment went sideways. People who understood what a $20 million mistake meant. Not a single message from Everett. Not from Caleb either. I didn't answer most of them. Just kept my head down and started pulling copies of client files onto a flash drive. Nothing protected, just notes I'd made. Contact preferences, schedule quirks, vendor flags, stuff I'd written down so I didn't screw anyone over, stuff that mattered. At 5:30 sharp, an email hit my inbox. Subject line: Immediate HR meeting, team dynamics review. No details, just report to conference B, now. I moved fast. I've seen how these things go. I grabbed the flash drive, emailed a zipped backup to my personal account, then closed my laptop and headed down the hall. When I walked in, Everett was already there. Sitting next to Susan from HR like this was some casual quarterly review. Her smile was stiff, fake, like she'd practiced it in a mirror and still didn't believe it. "Thanks for joining us, Elise," she said. Everett didn't look at me, just stared down at his hands, fingers tented. I sat. "So, team dynamics." Susan folded her hands like a camp counselor about to kick someone out of arts and crafts. "We've been reviewing recent patterns in communication and collaboration. There's concern about your approach to feedback and how it may be impacting morale." "Whose morale?" Everett cut in. "Elise, this isn't a debate." That's when I knew. I leaned back, stared right at him. "Let's skip to the part where you say it." He met my eyes, finally. Effective immediately, your employment is terminated. You'll receive your final paycheck plus 2 weeks of severance. That's it? Correct. No cause? Susan smiled again. We're framing this as a cultural incompatibility. We appreciate your contributions, but it's clear this environment isn't a fit. No mention of the mistake. No mention of the plan I'd saved. Just that I didn't fit. Like I was a wrong-shaped Lego piece in their perfect little tower. I see, I stood up. So Caleb crashes the numbers, I fix it, and I'm the one who's a problem. Neither of them said a word. A security guy appeared at the door like they'd planned the whole thing to the minute. He didn't touch me, just stood there, awkward, silent, waiting to do his job. I nodded slowly, grabbed my bag, looked at Everett one last time. 3 days, I whispered. His eyes narrowed, like he wasn't sure if he heard me right. Didn't matter. I walked out without another word. I didn't cry, didn't scream, just kept walking. Past the interns who pretended not to see me. Past the break room where someone was nuking a lean cuisine. Out the glass doors I'd walked through every morning for 8 years. The air hit me like a slap. Sharp and hot. My phone buzzed again. Another thank you. I didn't answer that one either, because I didn't need to. I didn't go out, didn't text anyone back. Just drove home with the AC blasting and the windows up like I was sealing myself off from the entire world. Once I got inside, I kicked off my shoes, dropped my bag, and went straight to the closet. Top shelf, old black case, my personal laptop, plus a hard drive I hadn't touched in months. I plugged both in and waited. Everything was still there, every campaign I'd ever built, documented step by step. Every quarterly report I'd ever cleaned up so some VP could pretend it was their win. Dozens of email threads with clients thanking me, forwarding feedback, looping me into family updates like I was more than just a vendor. Birthdays, baby showers, hospital scares, divorces. I knew them. I remembered who hated 9 a.m. calls and who preferred emails on Sundays. That was the part the Stricklands never understood. Logistics isn't just numbers, it's people, and people remember who shows up for them. I opened the folder labeled contingency. Inside, timelines, projections, network maps. Not a revenge plan, just a backup. For when I finally hit the wall, which I always knew was coming. I didn't know it'd be Caleb that pushed me through it, but whatever. I was here now. I pulled out the hard copy of my non-compete and flipped to the clauses I'd already half memorized. It said I couldn't solicit clients. It said nothing about responding. I opened a blank doc and drafted a message. Hi all, I want to share that as of today, I'm no longer with Strickland Supply. It's been a privilege working with so many of you over the years. Thank you for the trust, the collaboration, and the partnership. I'll be taking some time to regroup and explore new opportunities. My personal contact is below. No pitch, no link, no hint, just closure. Before hitting send, I dialed Andy Cohen. We hadn't talked in over a year, but he picked up after 2 rings. Elise Hartley, thought I'd be hearing from you someday. Today's the day. I told him everything, start to finish. He barely reacted. When I finished, he said, "You didn't solicit anyone?" "Nope, just drafted a goodbye note. Super polite." "Perfect. Send it. Just don't chase anyone. If they call you, well, that's business." I paused. "So if someone reaches out and says they want out, you can't recommend it, but you can explain their current contract. You can answer questions. You just can't fish. That's enough." "Good. Send the note. Then sit back. Watch." I closed my laptop, leaned back in my chair, and cracked my knuckles. 3 days. That's what I told Everett. I still had 72 hours, and all the ammo I'd ever need. I hit post on the LinkedIn update just after 10 the next morning. After 8 great years with Strickland Supply, I'm officially exploring new opportunities. Grateful for all the experiences, proud of the relationships, and excited for what's next. No bitterness, no digs, no hints, just clean. I stepped away to make coffee, came back 5 minutes later, and it had already started. "Call me when you're free." "What happened?" "Where are you headed next?" "Please tell me this is a joke." I didn't make a single ask, not one pitch. I just thanked them, said I was taking time to think, and left it there. But the thing about silence, it makes people lean in. By noon, a few clients had already called, casually off the record, just checking in. I didn't give them anything, just listened, reassured, smiled even when I felt like throwing something. And then, around 2 p.m., the first email came in. Forwarded from a client in Florida. Subject line, "This is who's replacing you." I opened it. Had to read it twice. It was from Caleb. The body read like a 6th grade book report, vague, overconfident, and loaded with typos. "Hello, name. I'm Caleb Strickland, and I'm excited to step into a lead role in our distribution strategy." Distribution. I had to put my coffee down to keep from choking. No greeting, no context. Just a mass-blasted intro with 4 different formatting errors and the wrong contact phone number listed. The client's name was even misspelled. The Florida client had added a note at the top. "If this is the new point of contact, we've got a problem." 10 minutes later, another client sent me the exact same email. Different region, different industry, then another, and another. By 4 p.m., I had 7 identical forwards, all from high-volume clients, all baffled. One just wrote, "I'm speechless. This is a joke, right?" I didn't reply to any of them right away. I needed them to sit in that confusion. Let the contrast speak for itself. By the end of the day, it wasn't just emails. I got texts, 2 phone calls, 1 voicemail from a longtime partner that started with, "I know you can't say much, but just blink twice if you're building something." 14 clients in total reached out that day, not just curious, annoyed, concerned. Asking what came next, I didn't tell them. I just said, "I appreciate the support. I'll be in touch when I can." Let Caleb spam the world with distribution updates. Let Everett pretend this was all under control. I hadn't lifted a finger, and the cracks were already showing. The next morning, I toured a shared office space off Riverside. Nothing fancy. Just clean floors, a front desk guy who minded his business, and no one from Strickland Supply within a 10-block radius. I took a spot by the window. Good light, quiet enough, month-to-month lease. Sold. An hour later, I sent 2 texts. "Monica? Brian? You free to talk?" They were. We met that afternoon at a cheap deli around the corner. I laid it out, simple as I could. Not a startup, not a company. Just 3 people working independently. Same space, no logos, no pitches. Strictly legal. Monica nodded. "That non-compete clause still hanging over your head?" "Like a damn ceiling fan," I said. Brian smirked. "As long as it's not called anything official, I'm in." They both knew the game. Monica had been the heartbeat of ops before she left. Ran our vendor scoring system like a sniper. Brian practically rebuilt our routing process from scratch. Neither of them survived more than 6 months under Caleb. "Guy kept calling me B-Man," Brian muttered. Like we were pledging a frat. I didn't blame them for walking. Now I was glad they had. We signed month-to-month desk rentals under our own names. No shared LLC. No overlap in client lists. Technically solo. Practically aligned. That night, I stayed late sketching out a client satisfaction metric system. Nothing complicated. Just a 5-point scale tied to speed, error rate, packaging accuracy, and communication. Something we could show if anyone asked, "Why should we trust you?" Because I had the receipts. And I wanted them organized. By the second day in the space, my inbox was filling up again. One message stopped me cold. "Just FYI, Caleb recommended we remove the tamper evidence seals from the Stage 1 baby jars to modernize the look." Are you kidding me? I wasn't sure if I wanted to laugh or scream. Another message followed from a West Coast client. Caleb just suggested we streamline safety compliance by skipping lot coding on OTC meds. Monica read over my shoulder and said, "Is he actively trying to get people sued?" "No," I said. "He's just dumb enough to think shortcuts are strategy." Brian wheeled his chair over, holding a protein bar. "What do we do with this?" "Nothing," I said. "We don't exist, remember?" But I wrote it all down, not for revenge, for record keeping. Because if a client ever asked what made us different, I wanted the answer ready. I was deep into version 2 of the satisfaction tracker when my phone rang. No caller ID, just a number out of Michigan. One of our longtime health supply clients. I picked up. "Elise, do you have a minute?" It was Dana, their procurement director. She sounded tight, sharp, and panicked. "Sure, what's going on?" "I just found out our contract with Strickland Supply lapsed. No renewal, no notice, nothing. I blinked. Wait, what? It expired 3 days ago. No one followed up. And now we're sitting on open inventory needs and zero guaranteed pricing. My jaw tightened. Caleb was supposed to handle that. Yeah, he didn't. I paused. Technically, you're a free agent. I know, she said. Can you meet? We met at a cafe across from my shared workspace. I brought my backup folder. I didn't have to. I wanted to. She showed up looking like she hadn't slept in 2 days. No small talk. Just sat down and opened with, "We are furious." I slid the folder over. Inside was a copy of their previous agreement. Terms, renewal windows, all of it. She flipped through it fast. "Why do you still have this?" "Because I actually cared about your business," I said. "And I knew someone would drop the ball eventually." Dana slapped it shut and leaned back. "He told our leadership you were let go because your role was redundant, that you were just an extra layer." I smiled. Not smug, just tired. "And how's that working out?" She didn't answer, didn't need to. After a pause, she said, "If we don't sign anything, can you walk me through what would have been your Q4 plan?" "Sure, as a friend." We talked through demand trends, price locks, distributor gaps, all off the record. At the end of it, she said, "We're not renewing. They'll get the notice Monday." I nodded. "You know I can't solicit." "You didn't. I called you." That afternoon, 2 more emails came in. One from a packaging supplier in Ohio. Subject line, "Can we talk?" The other from a distributor we'd worked with for 6 years. Just 2 words. "You around?" I didn't jump, didn't run. I just replied, "Happy to connect anytime. I'm not actively pursuing anything, but I'm around if you need me." Above board, word for word clean. Then I sat back and stared at the wall, the weight of it finally hitting me. It was happening, slow, quiet, legal, but real. The next morning, I logged into Zoom and 8 familiar faces popped up. Procurement leads, ops managers, directors. Every one of them had been with Strickland for years, some even longer than me. I could feel it before anyone spoke. This wasn't a check-in. "All right," I said. "Let's jump in. What's on your minds?" Marla from Denver started. "We've all been talking, off the record, and we're done." I stayed still. "Done with what exactly?" "Caleb. The delays, the disorganization, the nonsense." Roger, a cold chain manager from Illinois, jumped in. "He sent us an invoice with someone else's SKUs 2 weeks ago. Then blamed it on legacy formatting," Marla added. I kept my voice steady. "I can't make any offers, just so we're clear." "We're not asking you to," said Dana, the one I'd met for coffee. "But if someone did form a new operation, with competent leadership, we'd be interested." "Hypothetically," Roger said, smiling. I nodded. "If something were to happen, it'd be above board. No back-channeling." "Good," Marla said. "We don't want shady, we want reliable." The call ended after 45 minutes. Nothing promised, nothing pitched, but I knew, we all knew, they were jumping ship. I walked down the hall to Monica's desk. "Do it." She didn't ask what I meant. An hour later, the paperwork for Hartley Logistics Solutions, LLC, was filed. That night, Brian stayed at the office past midnight, building a client portal from scratch. Simple UX, encrypted messaging, order visibility. He even built in personalized dashboards. By morning, it was live. And then came the cherry on top. At exactly 9:17 a.m., my inbox pinged with a forward from a client. Subject: "You're gonna want to see this." It was Strickland Supply's monthly newsletter, sent out by Caleb. The subject line? Strickland 2.0, a bold new vision. The entire thing was in Comic Sans. I'm not joking. Half the text was misaligned, the bullet points didn't match, and there were 3 different shades of blue. Worse? He listed the wrong warehouse code in their East Coast routing update. Clients went wild. Screenshots started circulating on LinkedIn within the hour. One even captioned it, "Looks like someone built this in MS Paint." I didn't engage. Didn't need to. By end of day, we had 30 serious inquiries in our inbox. Not tire kickers, real prospects, long-term partners, people who used words like ready to move and tired of the chaos. We hadn't even launched, but it didn't matter. The breakaway had started. I walked into the office just after 7 and Monica was already there, holding her phone up like it was radioactive. "You've seen it?" she asked. I pulled mine out. Top story on Industry Logics. Front page. Strickland Supply loses 40% of client base in Q3 mass exit. Subhead. Sources cite missed contracts, poor communication, and leadership changes as key drivers. Brian leaned in from the kitchen. "Guess that Comic Sans wasn't part of the rebrand after all. I read the article once, twice. Names weren't listed, but the data points were obvious. The gaps lined up perfectly with our recent inbox activity. Everett must have seen it too, because at 8:32 a.m., my phone rang. I didn't pick up at first, let it ring twice. Then I answered. Elise." His voice was calm, like he'd rehearsed it. "Let's talk." "Okay. You've made your point." I didn't realize I was making one. He exhaled slowly. "You've crossed a line, soliciting our clients, violating your agreement, undermining my son." I walked to the window and stared out. "I haven't made a single ask. I've responded to emails. I've answered phone calls. If that's sabotage, you should probably fire your legal team." "You're playing word games." "No, Everett, I'm playing chess. You handed me the board." Silence. Then he said, "You want to come back?" I almost laughed. "Come back to what? A broken ops team? Clients bailing in droves? Comic Sans updates? I can fix it." "No, you can't," I said, "because your solution was to promote your son and punish the person who actually knew how to keep the place running. You're still bitter." "I'm busy," I snapped. "With a better team, loyal clients, and zero dead weight." He didn't respond. I waited. Nothing. Then I heard the click. Call ended. At 1:17 p.m., I got an email from Strickland's HR department. Subject line, "Leadership Transition Announcement. Body. Effective immediately, Caleb Strickland has stepped down from his role to pursue personal growth and new opportunities. We wish him the best in his future endeavors." I forwarded it to Monica and Brian. Brian wrote back one word. "Growth?" Monica added. "Let's hope he starts with spell check." I closed my laptop and leaned back in my chair. They were unraveling. And all I had done was answer the phone. By the end of the week, it wasn't a trickle anymore. It was a stampede. Client after client signed. Quiet, clean, fast. By Thursday morning, we were at 72. 72 contracts inked, active, and moving through the portal Brian built on his own in a single night. I could barely keep up with the onboarding. Then the real bomb dropped. A client from Atlanta called, furious. "Elise, tell me this didn't come from your people." I froze. "What didn't?" "We just received a shipment list for our next 3 months. Full route plan, product breakdown, and manufacturer details." "And?" "It was addressed to our competitor. It came from Strickland. Caleb's name was on the metadata. This stuff is sensitive. We're talking custom packaging, specialty freight." I exhaled. "I had nothing to do with that." "I figured," she said. "That's why I'm telling you." That afternoon, Strickland Supply sent out a mass email to every contact on their distribution list. Everett's name was stamped at the top. "We are aware of recent business activities involving former personnel. Any unauthorized replication of our strategies or outreach to our clients may result in legal consequences." I didn't respond. Didn't need to. The clients did it for me. One replied all with a single line. "If you sue Elise, we're pulling everything immediately." Another. "This is exactly why we left." By the end of the thread, 8 companies had backed me in writing. I wasn't just in the clear, I was protected. Monica called me from the conference room. "You have a second?" She walked me through the new onboarding platform she built. Clean interface, milestone tracking, built-in satisfaction polling. "Fully automated," she said. "Client hits a button, gets walked through start to finish." I grinned. "We should have done this years ago." "That's the point," she said. "Now we can." Brian popped in 15 minutes later holding a lease. "Got the office space, 10-year option, corner unit." "You signed it?" I ran the numbers. "We're already profitable. We're not hiding anymore." I took the pen and initialed it beside his. That night, the headlines rolled in. Everett Strickland steps down amid client exodus. Q3 earnings plunge. The article laid it out. 40% loss in volume, 12 major contracts gone, 3 key distributors gone silent. I didn't celebrate. but I slept hard for the first time in weeks. Before midnight, someone posted a screenshot on LinkedIn from inside Strickland HQ. It was a whiteboard, messy notes, client trust recovery plan scrawled across the top. The caption: "This is what happens when you promote last names over talent." 6 weeks later, I sat in our new office, pen in hand, river view behind me. The morning sun hit the water just right, bouncing light across the glass wall. I flipped through the final set of incorporation documents, read the last page twice, and signed. Hartley Logistics Solutions, official, permanent, hours. Monica and Brian were already on calls in the next room. 12 employees now. Solid hires, hand-picked, no dead weight. We were lean, sharp, and in the black. As I closed the folder, my phone buzzed. Caleb Strickland. Just a single message. "Can we meet?" I stared at it for maybe 5 seconds, then typed back, "No." I didn't owe him a thing. Around noon, my assistant knocked once and cracked the door. "There's someone here to see you. Says she doesn't have an appointment." Before I could ask who, a woman stepped in behind her. Mid-30s, dark blazer, direct eyes. "I'm Carly Strickland," she said. "Everett's daughter." I stood. Didn't know he had a daughter. Most people don't. I stayed out of the circus. She didn't sit. Just looked around the office, the whiteboards, the charts, the coffee mugs on desks. "You built something real," she said. I watched every step. I raised an eyebrow. "From where?" "Used to handle compliance at Strickland. I left after Caleb's first month. Told my father the company had a rot. He didn't listen." "Sounds familiar," she nodded. "Anyway, no pitch, no agenda. I just wanted to see it for myself." I walked her out. At the door, she turned back. It's earned. Keep going." I didn't say anything, just watched her leave. Then I stepped back inside, walked over to the window, and picked up the mug sitting on the ledge. A gift from my oldest client, mailed the day they signed. Trust earned, not bought. 3 days. That's all it took to remind an entire industry that loyalty, it doesn't come with a last name.